Over the course of history, video sharing on the internet has evolved dramatically. From posting random things on YouTube that rocketed to success to now creating curated content for dedicated audiences, following trends, and attempting to create the next moment that will get you all the attention and money that you think you deserve. It has evolved so much to the point that, according to some surveys online, children are stating their desire to grow up and be a content creator on TikTok or YouTube in like the top 5 of surveys these days. Well, this is not something that I think is a concern. There's one portion of this evolution of video posting that I see that frustrates me to my core, and I really wanted to talk about that today. Let's talk about parents and other adults who use children as pawns or targets in their bullying behavior for their desire to create viral content online. Right out of the gate, I want to lay out what I feel to be some of the most key points when it comes to discussing something like this. Intent of the content being recorded, the damage to the child that comes from it, and the capability of the adult recording to discern the consequences. We can jump into the discernment piece because I think it is important to consider when making a judgment like this. Think about all of the content you've seen where a kid is intentionally put in a situation that creates a large emotional outburst for them. Do you got one? If not, I'll give you a few that I've seen as trends over the course of a few years on TikTok. The trend where someone will play a very scary laugh sound and lock their child in a room and turn the lights off. The trend where someone will say, "Just give me my money," and they do not clap for the child after everyone else got roaring applause. The trend where they do the Soldier Boy dance and someone is left to dive face first into the ground. Other content that isn't necessarily a trend, such as recording your kid's very large reaction to something, such as their favorite sports player being traded from their favorite team, or outright lying to them to record their reaction, I would also include in this. I'm sure there are hundreds of other specific examples. Think about who's recording the video. Sometimes it's the family's 15-year-old daughter who saw a trend and just wanted to get a viral clip. Other times it is the child's own parents or other trusted adults such as aunts, uncles, or grandparents that are curating this content. Something deeply disturbs me when someone has the audacity to do this with someone else's kids. The question we ask is very simple in a situation like this. Should or do the people responsible for curating the video know that what they are doing is wrong and they decide to do it anyway? Teenagers and kids, it's not within their roles as a child to be aware that this content can be damaging. However, it is the duty of all parents to understand and protect their children from harm and provide love and safety. This leads into the next points, which are the intent of these videos and the harm that ends up coming to the child. Remember Ellen? Yeah, I know she sucks, but when people were going on her show for all kinds of different viral moments, Damn Daniel, well, apparently, kid, and all those other viral sensations went on there and not only got to amplify their online viral moment, but also usually got to meet celebrities and get some sort of crazy gifts and talk to Ellen on live television. Today, people like Jimmy Fallon continue to carry the torch for recognizing and promoting the most viral content online. If you're unaware, most of the time smaller creators actually go through a process of submitting their content to a show and hope that they are picked. Some of this may have changed due to the presence of these shows' managers on social media, but that's how it used to be, at least. If you're old enough to remember, back in the days, there was Ridiculousness and America's Funniest Home Videos where people submitted clips and even attempted to create clips intentionally to get the show's attention. In the more modern era of internet posting, we've seen brands and sports teams reach out to people via their viral moment videos and give them things. I remember seeing recently the Buffalo Bills reach out to a teacher and give a student in their class some merch because he liked to track stats for the Bills. They actually recently just did another video where Jameis Winston was talking to the class and telling the class to listen up. As we've noticed videos like this, we've also noticed people who go out of their way to create viral moments at the expense of their child's dignity. My big question is always, what is your goal here? In this age of social media posting, I can't help but think you are trying to do one or more of the following: get a crazy large amount of likes on the post, get recognition for yourself, or get the attention of business social media teams to get free stuff. One specific video I saw that prompted me to make this one was one where a mom breaks to her son his favorite baseball player was traded to a new team. Now, this isn't the first video of its kind, and if you know what video I'm talking about, I would ask that you please do not harass anyone. That's just completely unacceptable. The kid in the video I'm thinking of continually attempts to look over at the camera that he notices is recording him. That's most likely being held by an older sibling or a dad, I imagine. But mom continues to try and get him to make eye contact so that she can break him this news. The kid in the video is so shy during the recording that he actually whispers into mom's ear instead of saying out loud who his favorite player is, and mom just blurts the answer out loud anyway, so totally ruins his privacy in that moment. The kid is obviously very upset when mom finally unveils that his favorite player has been traded away, but he's standing there in this moment that I would describe as very awkward. He knows a camera is pointed directly at him because he has looked at it multiple times at this point. He stands there for a few seconds trying to process the situation before mom prompts him to get the reaction that she's been looking for this whole time. She asks him, "Are you sad?" He quietly nods his head and then bursts into tears, and mom hugs him. Mission accomplished. We got a viral moment. Nope. She cuts to her holding the camera in a sort of selfie fashion from the side with her son sitting in front of her, tears streaming down his face and trying to calm down. And again, he looks at the camera. Woohoo! Guess who's tagged in the video? If you guessed the sports team that the favorite player got traded from, you'd be correct. Now, after hearing the narration of this video, what do you think the intent was? If I had to guess, it would be to garner the attention of the sports team, to get some sort of reaction or reward from them, and potentially to get a viral moment out of it. Let's now consider what the costs were in making this video. The boy in the video was very shy with his mom, and honestly, after something like this, I can probably guess why. A moment that could have been handled privately was made into a show for the whole world to watch. As anyone who's been around kids before knows, kids have a lower capacity for emotional regulation in comparison to adults. Their frontal lobe is nowhere close to finishing in its development, and kids often need co-regulation skills to handle really big situations. Your frontal lobe does not finish developing until you're 25 in a neurotypical mind and closer to 30 in a neurodivergent mind. What message do we send to kids who are trying to process their tough feelings when the first thing we do is put a camera on them and post them to the internet for anyone to watch? This can indicate things such as, my emotions are not for me but for others. My mom wants me to be upset. My feelings are not safe with my mom. Even if this is a one-off experience of mom posting something like this, it opens up this child to the scrutiny of others in a vulnerable moment. I'm 27 years old, and I don't think I want anyone posting a recording of me getting emotionally overwhelmed. So I don't think it's fair that we do the same to a child who has no say in the situation and is experiencing these emotions on a much bigger scale. Some of the other trends I think I would classify as more active in bullying the child are things such as the "just give me my money" trend. While most people saw this as a completely harmless and funny prank, I couldn't help but feel really bad watching as kids had meltdowns as these people that they trusted made them the butt of their joke. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, this trend was videos where a group would get together and take turns saying, "just give me my money," in a very silly and grandiose way. After each person took their turn, the whole group would cheer and clap for them. But when they got to their target, which oftentimes was a kid, the target would play along, not knowing that they were going to be the butt of the joke, and the whole group would go radio silent. No applause, no cheers, nothing. Think about what feeling would come up for you in this moment if people pranked you in this way. You are fully aware that you just did something incredibly goofy, and while everyone else got cheers and applause, you were left out to dry, and now that recording is going to be posted on the internet for everyone to see. As an adult, I would probably attempt to play it off, but I'd ultimately feel at least a little bit hurt or betrayed, I imagine. Studies show that social rejection is painful. Being excluded or ignored in an activity is not only psychologically painful, but also shown to create feelings of physical pain as well in brain scans. Now let's take that from the perspective of a child. Children often don't develop the capacity to think outside of black and white thinking until they're around the age of 8 to 11 years old. They may be led to thoughts like, everyone else got cheers and claps except for me. Is something wrong with me? This intense feeling of rejection is what fuels these extreme reactions that we notice in children in these videos. While some people consider them a cheap laugh, I don't find it to be funny putting children through a hurtful situation and then laughing at them when they're communicating that they're hurt by it. What would you do as a kid in this situation? A group of your family members or friends makes you the butt of their joke and then laughs at you when it hurts your feelings. Mission accomplished, viral moment achieved, again. One more that I can talk about in the same vein as the just give me my money trend is the trend where people will play a scary laugh and repeat it as they lock a child in a room with the recording to get their reaction. I think this one gets to me the most because there's truly no way to justify it. Some of these other videos I've talked about previously can be discussed and maybe you could weasel away into some sort of justification that it's just a prank or not that big of a deal, but I still vastly disagree with that, and I think this type of video is just the one that you can't justify in any circumstance. The only intent you could possibly have in putting them in this sort of situation is to terrify them because you think it's funny. Unfortunately, there are people on the internet who think this kind of content is funny and make trends out of it. I've seen some of the most heartbreaking reactions from kids in videos like this. A mom, a dad, an aunt, an uncle locking their child in a bathroom while a camera is propped up and ready to catch them in an absolute meltdown. Oh, and also they can't actually lock them in the room that they're putting them in because it locks from the inside. So they are on the outside of the door, holding it shut with all of their might as this child kicks, screams, claws, and pulls at the door in a fight or flight response. So funny, am I right? I've seen multiple videos where children around the ages of 5 to 9 are afraid for their lives as a person they trust is holding the door shut and they scream at the top of their lungs in a panic. You can actually see in a lot of these videos the moment where a child's fight or flight instinct kicks in as they panic and plead for help. I saw one where a kid was probably about 6 years old, locked in a bathroom with his brother, and I think his aunt was the one holding the door shut. He was actually able to bend the door with how hard he was trying to pry it open with his brother, and his aunt is just holding it shut on him as he pulled with all his might and exerted himself. Woohoo! Mission accomplished again. Viral moment. I think it'd be insulting for me to sit here and explain why this type of video is damaging to a child, so we can kind of just move forward into a conclusion. In some of the same ways people make fun of content creators who can only create content that children consume, I think we should start having a conversation about people who use children in sorry attempts to make viral content. It is the role and responsibility of a parent to ensure that children are protected in their most vulnerable moments. I hope that one day platforms become better about protecting children from being posted in damaging ways, and I hope that this video maybe gave some of my perspective to you on this topic as well. Thanks for watching.